Skyblock is a challenge for a couple different reasons. The first and foremost being the lack of materials, but also the lack of land and area to actually build upon. During the time that I've been playing on this world, I've solved a couple issues, getting myself some decent supplies and also a bit of land to start on. But in this episode, I get started on the true start of the new world. Building a whole new world may seem like a daunting task, but just like with any other major project, the first step is making an outline for it. And for that, I'm just gonna need 14,000 stone blocks. I can manage that. One benefit of building out of stone is that since I have the cobblestone generator set up, collecting the blocks themselves won't be too hard. The main problem is that I'm using classic smooth stone, which means I will need to smelt it once to, make it smooth. So, after grabbing the chest to place the stone in from the cobblestone generator, which is 4 double chests in an inventory row, which is a lot, I grabbed my stack and a half of furnaces from last episode to start smelting it all into stone, because, for some reason I thought it was a good idea to outline my world in classic stone, instead of just using cobblestone. But hey, it's fine. However, I am gonna need to cook up some more charcoal to be able to smelt all that stone. Getting lazy while waiting for some of that initial charcoal to smelt, I do stop by the mob grinder in the meantime, which I normally wouldn't bring up, but since this was recorded around Halloween, I get some carved pumpkins and an achievement that gives me a cool pumpkin, and for some reason a stack of jack-o'-lanterns. So yeah, I felt like bringing that up. But getting back to the charcoal demand, it's getting bad when I start actually, organizing my inventory to more easily put stuff in the furnaces just to get the charcoal faster. Oh, but don't worry, the measly stack of charcoal that this process is doing, and the extra half a stack from this area, is not remotely close enough. I'm gonna need to do tree farming to get all that charcoal. And so, back to chopping down trees. And yes, I keep planting these trees as decoration, and then I keep cutting them down because I don't actually have a tree farm. So, one day I'll plant trees here and they'll get to stay as decoration, but that is clearly not anytime soon. And after a bit of tree farming, just look at all of those logs that I need to turn into charcoal. And before you ask, yes, pretty much all of that is actually going to be used for the thing I'm building. And after loading up all of those furnaces, I then fiddle with the cobblestone chest a little bit, making it so that there's a slot on the far left that I can put charcoal in, since inventory row is 9 rows, and a stack of charcoal can smelt 8 stacks, it works out. So the one charcoal on the far left can smelt all 8 stacks in the rest of the row. And then of course is the actual smelting process, since charcoal and stone in boxes are great, but charcoal and stone actually in the furnaces is much better. And despite the fact that there is a stack and a half of furnaces on the ground, 96 for those who are counting, I guess, I still am gonna have to fill all of these more than once, as when I finally get all of them filled, I still have a bunch more cobblestone I need to go through. In fact, I'm gonna have to do this all over again, and then a little bit more on top of that. But that just takes time and a little bit of effort, so I guess it's not that big a deal, but it is kinda making me want a super smelter, even though I have no way of getting enough iron for that. So instead, here I am, manually pulling out all of the stone by hand. And yeah, you get the idea. After that, I throw in a bunch more stone to, keep the furnaces going, watch the furnaces smelt down, once again collecting the stone to place into chests, smelting a bit more, not a full cycle, but a bit more, and then begin removing excess furnaces, and then after getting all of it smelted, I can get rid of all the furnaces, which is great. And yeah, that's all we're gonna need to outline the new world. I do emphasize outline, because that's all it's gonna be. But for now, it's time to get the outline in place, which means I can load my schematic. Which, in and of itself actually takes a little while, because it is kind of enormous. See, the outline of the new world is going to take shape as an 8-pointed star, because I like that shape. I think it's a fun shape. And, each of the main cardinal direction points are going to end in line with the ends of the bridges, which means this star is over 2,000 blocks in diameter. But no use getting overwhelmed by it. It's just an outline that's, you know, a couple thousand blocks to build. So that's probably fine. This first line also has me heading directly towards a pillager outpost, and I'm sure no complications could come from that. Except for, you know, pillagers, as it turns out. They cause complications. Who could have seen that coming? Oh, but don't worry too much. I only die one more time while fighting the pillagers, and definitely only lose a bit of my stone to the void. But I guess it could have been worse. But after breaking through the outpost, it is otherwise not too difficult to deal with. I just, you know, keep placing more stone. I also end up building over an ocean monument, which is not at all as scary as I expected it to be, and less scary than fighting the pillagers. Which feels very wrong, but I also am not going to complain. But anyway, let's just skip to a quick time-lapse of me building most of this star, as even though it's a super big thing, it's not exactly the most interesting thing to watch from first person. And with that, most of the star is finished. I say most because about half of the last line is unfortunately missing, most likely due to the Pillager Incident, so I'm gonna have to get a little bit more stone together. Fortunately, I have charcoal to spare. And so, I can continue smelting a bit more stone. Not too much, because I don't want to go too overboard, but I definitely smelted more than I actually needed. But with the furnaces finished smelting, I can remove all the remaining ones and finally finish the outline. And we even get to pass over a second ocean monument while building this line. That's fun. And with all that being said, the outline for the new world is finished. That can't be the whole video though, obviously, though it is about foundations of the new world, so the star we just built is a very good physical and literal foundation for the world. However, I want a more, I guess, lore-focused center and foundation for the world. So I begin looking at the material list for something called a world stone. And this is going to be at the center of the world, and I guess hold it together for us. And of course, since I love riveting furnace gameplay, this thing is made off of a base of stone, and needs like over 9,000 stone blocks total, including, you know, variants. The actual stone blocks, it only needs 8.8 thousand. But with the variants like the stairs and the walls, we're gonna need a lot more. I begin setting up chests to hold all the stone that I'm going to need, but I'm gonna need a lot more cobblestone, so cobble generator is being turned back on. Unfortunately for my ears. I also slap some mobs in the mob farm while I still can, as with its position, it is going to need to be removed to fit the world stone. However, while the cobblestone farm is going, I might as well run around and try and get some of the other materials that I'm going to need for the world stone. First things first, I smelt a bit of glass and make some glass panes, as I will need a couple for the world stone. However, of course, with my achievements, I end up with a bit more glass than I originally made. I also end up thinking that I'm going to need 43 andesite, and manage to get 48 out of all the quartz I currently have. After that, I run over to what seems to be my favorite structure in this playthrough, the trial chambers, because I need myself 50 copper bulbs. And since I can't scrape them, as that would get rid of the waxing, I need to grab only the fully unweathered editions, since they come pre-waxed. However, with the 50 bulbs collected, I can leave, and we shouldn't have to go back to the trial chamber again this episode. But on return, you gotta be kidding me. The cobblestone generator is broken again, and this time it's even worse. Multiple chests and hoppers are just gone. The hopper half of that equation really hurts, as each needed 5 iron to make. And it also means I have less stone for the world stone. I try a couple times to fix this thing, but end up just breaking it worse. So yeah, this cobble's generator is dead. I'm not fixing it again. So I just dismantle the whole thing to get it out of my sight, because at this point it is physically hurting me. And I take my wrath out on the mobs again, and there's a lot of wrath to go around. However, I do cool down enough to pull a zombie villager out of the mob farm, because at some point I really am going to need a bunch of villagers. And as a bonus, since I got a weakness splash potion from the trial chamber, I won't need to deal with a witch. And you know what? I might as well get the whole villager thing out of the way now, because it also might help me out in the future. So I do a bunch more, slapping around of mobs, and also set up my crappy auto smelter again just to turn the extra metallic armor and tools into some spare material, and eventually pull out the villager number 2. But I do also keep blasting mobs for a bit anyway. I then go to the nether real quick, because I think I need more gold, and I do grab a gold block from the outside of the bastion. However, after getting back to store it, I realized I had golden apples the whole time, so I can just use those. And so, I grab one of those weakness potions I was talking about, splash the zombies, and begin curing them, finally opening up the door for my first companions in this new world, and watch them cure back into non-zombified people. Now I have 2 villagers, and kinda need to decide what jobs to give them. It's not super important which ones they have, because I'm mostly getting them so that they spawn iron golems that I can kill to get iron, because iron is probably my shortest resource that I'm gonna need a pretty decent amount of. But with this in mind, the first villager is gonna be a shepherd, because they can sell me beds. However, they see the barrels and want to be a fisherman, and it takes me removing all the barrels in my storage area to convince them to become a shepherd. I grab the few emeralds I have and buy some shears from the villager to level them up, but due to my lack of emeralds, I can't actually do much. So villager number 2 is gonna become a farmer, as it should be relatively simple to get a lot of emeralds from them that way. I keep them in boats for now, since I was worried about them getting injured, but I will later let them roam freely, as keeping them in boats isn't really necessary. I grab a few carrots, a lot of bones, right-click to harvest mod, and an auto-clicker, and just farm a ton of carrots to sell to my farmer, because I'm gonna need a pretty decent amount of emeralds to get this started. And with the emeralds I got out of that, I feed my alleged shears addiction, and can now purchase an abundance of beds. With those beds placed, I free the villagers and allow them to sleep, before giving them a ton of spare carrots, so hopefully I will get more villagers soon. And And after a bit more trading, I got both of my villagers up to master, which the main benefit of this is the golden carrots I can now buy from the farmer, as it's a bit of a better and more reliable food source than anything else I've gotten so far. But with the villagers working in the background, I can do something else. So I make myself a bunch of slabs, and off to the nether I'm going. And that's because I want to find myself a nether fortress. So, with those slabs, I start bridging out north. No, west first, actually, because that makes sense. And end up going over 1,000 blocks, and did not manage to find pretty much anything. And so, after going back and getting a few more slabs, now I decide to bridge out north from the portal. And I end up finding a fortress within just a couple hundred blocks, so that's fun. And the fortress is absolutely crawling with enemies, so I have to be very careful on approach. I end up tunneling into the side of the fortress and do my best to survive long enough to get a blaze rod or two. And if you're wondering how successful I was at that, well, this is a rough description of how my trip in the fortress went. Misery. And after all that great fun, I run home with the one blaze rod I managed to keep from all of that. And so, instead of staying in hell, I'm just gonna run through a bunch of different stuff with villagers because, I don't know, I wanted to do villager stuff, I guess. I make myself a brewing stand with that one blaze rod I got to have a cleric villager. I make a stone cutter since I cannot find my old one, and the mason villager would also be nice. Blast furnace for an armor smith, sell all my rotten flesh to the cleric, get some golden carrots from the farmer, leveling up the armor because I would like some diamond armor, but that means I need to buy a ton of bad armor, but I can just run all the excess iron and chain armor through the auto smelter for a little iron back. But I also get a lot of shields. And I buy myself some diamond boots. I farm a bunch more potatoes and fund myself some diamond leggings. I expand the amount of dirt on the inner ring so I can plant some pumpkins for some more emerald yield. I start planting azalea bushes around the moss outer ring as I eventually want to replace it all with grass. I decide to till some of the dirt that I'm getting from the azalea tree growing for pumpkin growing too, since I might as well. I make a grindstone for a weaponsmith, mostly for the weapons, but also I can sell the spare iron I'm getting by killing iron golems for more emeralds, and I will regret that later. I break the pumpkin plants on the inner dirt because I would prefer to have them all on the outer ring. Getting some good extra wood out of all the azaleas is a good bonus, but it also just takes time. Smithing table for toolsmiths to finish the smithy trifecta. Also a fletching table because selling my excess wood from all the azalea trees I'm chopping should be a nice way to get some extra emeralds. I have my first death to an iron golem due to my not very safe way of fighting them. I purchase some pointed dripstone from a wandering trader, get my armor to master and buy a diamond helmet, needing to gather a bit more before getting the chest plate, but now have full diamond armor, get the weaponsmiths to sell me enchanted diamond swords, get toolsmiths to master so you'll sell me diamond pickaxes, I'd need a few axes though, and a lot of iron collecting. To put into slight perspective how much iron collecting I still do, there's still about 30 minutes to the clip that I'm currently editing, and that is the last thing I wrote in notes, which means that is all I do for those last 30 minutes, is just wait for Iron Golem to spawn, kill Iron Golem, repeat. Now, a while back in the video, you may have noticed me dismantling my stone farm, because it, I was talking about it, because it blew itself up, and that sucks. However, despite that, I still need a bunch of stone. So, I need to make myself a new stone farm. 'Cause yeah, as you can probably guess, the world stone requires a lot of stone. I also said it earlier in the video, so you should remember that. And as with every project I do, it has a material list. So I craft 18 buckets, I go to the nether, and fill all of those buckets with lava. And, yeah, I use the Bastion lava, which is a little spooky, because I have not had good luck in the nether structures in general, if I'm gonna be honest. But it worked out, and I left the nether without dying this time. And then it's just a couple easy ingredients, some leaves, 18 chests, 10 glass, 13 slabs. I have to steal the hoppers from the auto smelter again because I need some of those. And then I need observers. So I need quartz again, and as you can probably remember, because it wasn't too long ago, I used all of my quartz to make andesite. So I need to go to the nether again to get more quartz. This couldn't possibly go wrong. I definitely wasn't just a couple seconds ago talking about my bad luck in the nether structures. And so the approximate order of events is I go to the nether, I trade with the piglins, don't get any quartz, I steal gold blocks from the piglins, die again. Got a little quartz this time though. Get myself another gold block to once again trade. Do my best to get them to give quartz. And they don't. Death. Lost my boots that time. And then death. And then I steal all the gold blocks from the central platform. Finally get my quartz. And take it and my spare gold home. And with that done, fortunately everything else is easy for the new and hopefully improved Cobble Gen. All I need is the 8 observers, 8 building blocks, 4 ladders, 4 repeaters, 4 trapdoors, 3 pistons, 3 redstone with 3 note blocks, 1 obsidian, 1 sand, 1 TNT, 1 lever, 1 button, water, and a stack of temporary blocks. Initially, I was just gonna build it on the moss platform. Just dig a little hole and, yeah, I would have to dig a bit further down, so I just decided not to do it on the moss platform, and instead kinda hang it over the edge of the abyss, which is definitely safe and not at all concerning. But it works, so it's fine. And as per usual, I do not know how this thing works exactly, but there is a tutorial in the description for those interested. After building this, I pretty quickly try and test it, panicking a little as it very quickly doesn't seem to work. However, after swapping the wooden button out for a stone one, it seems to work. Or so I thought, and I quickly find that one of the note blocks broke, and referring to the comments under the video, they give me an idea on how to fix it. So with a bit of obsidian and rebuilding, now it works. And if this thing ever stops working, I will eat my keyboard. But with it now functional, it is producing more cobble than I can keep up with, which is perfect for the world stone. After that, I do have enough stone for all the world stone materials. However, stone is not the only thing I'm gonna need, which means it's time to gather more stuff. I plant some sugarcane as I need some books, however realized pretty quickly that I already had some, probably from the trial chamber and or the stronghold. Probably the stronghold now that I think about it. I grab a mod called the Trade Cycling mod after making a lectern so that I can more quickly look for what I want in a librarian villager, and believe it or not, it's not mending. I want Silk Touch. And I get that, and I get myself a diamond pickaxe from the toolsmith, and after making an anvil, I now have a Silk Touch pickaxe. The anvil was made with iron I've been getting from constantly trimming the iron golems. Yeah, you know how I made, like, that comment about me doing that for, like, half an hour straight? Yeah, I've still been doing that, just literally every time I'm not doing anything else, or every time I see a golem, I kill it. Which is probably why it took so long to get everything done, but at the same time, I'm gonna want all that iron. I grab 1 grass block for the farm with my Silk Touch pickaxe, as well as some dirt to turn into more grass, as I need 24 in total. I'm building the farm out of smooth stone, so furnace is out again for 509 stone, 7 stacks and 61 that is. And next I need scaffolding, and bridge out to the jungle island hoping to get some there, but quickly being disappointed as there's no bamboo to be seen. And of course, while running back, I space the hell out, and end up launching myself down, fortunately onto a trial chamber and not into the void, so my items can in fact be recovered. After recovering my items, I need to find some bamboo elsewhere. With this in mind, I run around to raid more shipwrecks, as there is a chance to get bamboo out of the organics chest in them. The first shipwreck does not give me what I need at all, but the second nearby shipwreck gives me just 1 bamboo, and that will be enough. The only other thing I need is string, so I just need to find and kill a couple of spiders. That's a weird looking spider. Now, for what I need the iron for. I'm gonna need 40 hoppers. 40. And I currently have enough iron for 12. Substantial bonking occurred. But I also gave a cat some snacks, so clearly my morality scale is still perfectly even. I also got a new lectern during this time of bonking, as I decided to get a looting 3 book to hopefully make this go quicker. I also harvested the grass blocks during this time because they all grew during this time. So, 3 stacks and 8 iron ingots later, I have my 40 hoppers, and everything else was fairly trivial, so I'll just run through them real quick. For this second farm, I need 32 redstone, 20 chests, 17 redstone repeaters, 12 smooth stone slabs, 11 composters, 11 fence gates, 10 signs, 10 trapdoors, 9 stone brick stairs, 9 water buckets, that's inaccurate, but it worked, enough, 6 fences, 6 levers, 6 redstone torches, 6 observers. I did have to go for the nether for this one, but it actually goes kinda alright. You know, for once. 3 ladders, 3 pistons, 3 redstone comparators, 3 crimson nylium. Yeah, this is where the silk touch pickaxe came in very handy. This and the grass blocks, I guess. 2 iron bars, 2 soul sand, 1 more trapdoor, 1 chain, and another trapdoor, so I actually needed 12 of those. 1 pressure plate, 1 dispenser, 1 dropper, 1 obsidian, 1 TNT, and last and probably least, 1 carpet. And so, with all the materials collected, I guess I'll finally say what the actual farm is. Considering I'm about to build it, it might be good to know what I'm building. Well, you see, one of the main building blocks for my world stone is going to be crimson hyphae, to fill in the cracks. So, I'm making a tree farm that can help me farm a bunch of nether trees to get that. I set up this schematic off the southwest outside the wall, similar to how I did the cobblestone farm, and now I can start building the thing. After checking to be sure that everything is correct, the farm should be ready to try out, except for one thing, my major lack of bone meal. This farm is self-sufficient when doing nether trees, however it needs a lot to jumpstart the process. With this in mind, I grab a bunch of my spare oak saplings and toss them into the composting module of the farm to get some to start with. I run to the nether real quick to grab the crimson tree there so I can set all of my item filters in the farm, but I still need to find a shroomlight as I drop the one on this tree into the void. It takes a few trees, but I do eventually get my shroomlight, and I harvested the first couple trees by hand for some reason, Perhaps because I'm afraid that another farm is gonna blow itself up, but editing me is not positive what was going through playing me's head, as we're different people. After getting the filters done, I can now actually test out the farm, and it seems to be working pretty well. I am gonna need a bit more bone meal though to make it run perpetually, and so with that, let's move over to the mob farm, where I place torches in it to stop mobs from spawning. For sure not falling to my death while doing so, and then running away to get all the mobs to despawn. When I get back, I remove all the carpets. I know they stop the spiders from spawning, but they seem to be stopping mobs from falling into the water also, so I decided to remove them and just deal with the spiders for now. Plus, it might be nice to get some more string before it's too late. With the farm carpetless, I take the time to farm it for a while, wanting to get a bunch more bone for the nether farm, as I said, and I spend about an hour just farming mobs because I wanted to be positive I had enough bones, but in the end I do. And with that settled, I get under the tree farm and expand the storage a bit, just to be sure I'll have enough space to hold everything. And then it's back to farming trees for me. After a quite substantial farming session, I end up with a good chunk of crimson logs, and as it happens, it's just enough for what I need for the world stone, with just a stack and one to spare. Though that isn't too surprising when I tell you that it needs 1662 crimson hyphae. Also, remember how I wasted like a bunch of my quartz to make some andesite? Well, it turns out I did not need it, but now that I have the proper list of materials, I can lay it out for you. The world stone requires 8,763 stone, 1,662 crimson hyphae, 889 stone stairs, 335 stone brick walls, 317 stone slabs, and the 50 copper bulbs and 2 glass panes we collected earlier. In other words, it's time to get a lot of stone cooked up. While cooking that down is probably going to be really annoying, at the very least the cobble part of it is going to be easy, as the new cobblestone generator can crank that out in not too much time, which is impressive as it takes about 3 double chests of stone for this thing. Some of the cobble is turned into furnaces, putting my total up to 2 full stacks of furnaces, and as you can probably imagine, this also means I'm going to need more charcoal, as that many furnaces covers almost a whole point of my star. The little one, not the big one, as obviously. Anyway, it just takes some time though, because I'm getting wood passively as I grow the azaleas that I'm using to turn my outer ring slowly to dirt. So without too much effort, I get all the charcoal I need and begin placing 8 in each and every furnace. Also, this is 2.5 stacks of furnaces, as I apparently made another half stack of furnaces at some point and did not notice during recording, note-taking, or editing. After distributing all the charcoal, I move all the cobble down into chests near the furnaces so I don't have to keep running over to the farm, and then, and only then, do I place a stack of cobblestone in each and every one of those furnaces. This, as you can imagine, took a while, and once again has me thinking of making a super smelter in the future, but until I have an actual iron farm, probably not going to be able to do that. By the time I had stone in each furnace, the first furnace had cooked 23 items. So yeah, I never want to do this again. After a while of wandering around, whacking the mob farm and whacking iron golems, the first furnaces were finishing. And, with the time it takes to pick these furnaces up, even though the last ones were started minutes after the first, I can mine almost non-stop, and all of them will be finished before I get to them. And one last distraction, I promise this is the last time I get distracted. I do find a couple cows in the grass patch of the tree farm, and also find a wandering trader that sells me a mangrove propagule and some dirt. But with those distractions out of the way, we're down to the last step before I can start building, and I just need to convert the stone blocks into all the different items we need. And with that settled, I move the building materials close to the center of the ring to prepare for construction. Though, the first step of the building process is removing what's in the way, in this case, the mob farm, so I take some time to tear that down. This is also why I've been smacking it a bit more recently, as I knew it had to go. Though the mob farm isn't the only thing in the way, pretty much the entire inner ring needs to go. Everything within the first tough brick ring is being removed, so I'm going to need to move a lot of my chests. And while a bit annoying, moving the chests isn't all that hard. Next is the platform itself. I am being careful removing the grass blocks, but at this point I could care less about losing some stone slabs. And with a now slightly ominous hole in the middle of my platform, here's a little, I guess, layer by layer sneak peek of what's being built. But seriously, with how clumsy I am, I really should put a wall around this, so I real quick grab some extra cobblestone, make a few walls, and wall it off just to make sure I don't accidentally launch myself into the abyss. But anyway, after all that work, all those deaths, and all this time, we can finally move on to building the world stone. And right as we're leaving off, I'll give you one last shot from the top of the world stone and the view from up here, as this is not a view we're probably gonna get, at least not anytime soon. But with this, I'll leave you with an ending cinematic, and farewell.